Okay, big day today. It's all about doors. Got a new front door to go in and a new side door. So let's do it. So really big day today. We are going to swap out the front door and also the side door of the house. The front door is a real eyesore at the moment. It's an old door which was probably put in the 50s, and it's fully glazed and it's not doing the job. So another thing we've been struggling with is all the drafts with this door. There's no seals at all. It's single glaze and it's just got this kind of secondary glazing panel screwed on top of it, which probably helps quite a bit with the noise and stuff, but it's not any more secure. We've got this latch here, which is the only lock on it, so it's not very secure at all. We've got no key for this bolt here. So the whole idea is to get a more secure and more efficient door in there, and something that looks a little bit better than this. So I've got a friend called Paul who's coming over. He's a window fitter and he's going to give me a hand getting these doors in. He's also got a big van, and that means we can take the van down to the window place and pick everything up in one load rather than me strapping it to the roof. Okay, so once we got back to the house, we took all the doors out of their packaging so we could measure up, make sure things were going to fit before we started tearing out the old doors. There was just decades of paint on this front door, so we had to chip away, take all the screws out, then we could take the main door out, and then that just left the frame itself. And there was quite a bit of trim that was going around on the inside which I wanted to keep. So the idea was that we'd take out the frame, leaving the gap that would be left, and hopefully that would measure up about 70mm, which was the same as the new door frame. And there you can see that old bit of trim, which hopefully once sanded and painted up will look nice. Then we gave it a final check over for size and lifted it through. Now it's a heavy unit, as you probably tell from when we picked it up in that packaging, and you kind of just had to take it slow and steady. But once we were in, we kind of offer it up to the stonework and see how we're fitting. Now obviously I took all these measurements myself, so everything was going to be on my head if it was wrong. So it's a bit nerve-wracking, but it actually turned out to be pretty much millimetre perfect on this front door. There was a small amount of stonework we just had to chip away so that the threshold could kind of sit into the stonework slightly. I went for a low threshold rather than kind of a step or having a sill. And that meant that kind of pushchairs coming in and out, or even just walking in, because it was the same level inside and outside, we would have created a trip hazard if we hadn't gone for that low sort of aluminium threshold. I took the opportunity to clear up all of the old paint that was on there whilst the door was kind of sat away from that stonework, because it was going to be impossible to do that once the door was fitted, and just thought I'd take the opportunity to clear it all back. Used a Stanley knife blade as a scraper, and also found a bit of old 40 grit sandpaper, the one we did the floors, and that really took the worst of it off. We then just started the process of levelling everything out. You've obviously got to get everything spot on, so there was a bit of shimming to do underneath to make sure everything was nice and flush, and then we could start putting fixings in. We used the normal, the long frame fixings, and they worked very, very well, and it meant that we could kind of fit it, and then if needed we could slacken off one side to kind of straighten everything up. And once everything was perfect, we then hit the whole lot with foam in that void. That will go off, hold the whole thing really secure and insulate that void. And then we needed to seal around the frame to make the whole thing weather tight. So we closed up the front door, locked it up and left it secure. And then we made it start ripping out the timber frame from the side door and that was kind of really tricky. Really, it was an internal frame which was wedging the metal door unit between the stonework and that. So once the wood was out, we could then loosen up the whole thing and start prying it. And what I could then do is close the doors back in on themselves and tip the whole unit in towards the house, because it was wedged in by the stonework. You see those hinges are really tight on the stonework. So I've got it to kind of this point and yelled for some help. We lifted it in. It's very, very heavy unit this, and we kind of had to do a bit of twisting without damaging the kitchen floor. Twisted it and carried the lump out. No idea what we're going to do with that, and have to try and get it down to the recycling centre. So that left us with the opening. Stonework again was pretty square. A little bit more tidying up to do on this one, just because it was a bit more damaged and weathered. But it was, again, a very, very tight fit with the sizing. And again, that was on my head if it was wrong. Fortunately, it was, well, we could just get away with it. If you look right at the top there, it just goes in. To be honest, it couldn't have been any taller because of the top stonework, and it couldn't be any shorter because we've ended up with a gap at the top. So you can see this door just clears this top lintel. But actually, in the end, it's a pretty good fit again. And because it's opening outwards, we had to make sure the hinges would clear the stonework, and it has done that. We'll just have to make sure we've got a nice stop on there to make sure it doesn't swing open in the wind. And there's a bit of chiselling to do, some of that self-leveling compound from when I laid that. It's just the floating floor has just kind of got in the way of the frame there from the underfloor heating. So we can kind of chip away at that, hoover it out, and that meant we could just sit it in perfectly. Got the whole thing level, and then it was time to get the glazing in. So we've actually gone for a relatively low cost option here. It's just a straightforward double glazed white frame and an argon filled A-rated unit. That's going to help with the heat that we were losing through that old metal door and still cut out some of the sound. But there's going to be a porch on here anyway, so this door is not really going to be an external door in the future. But once it was all cleaned up and sealed, it's still, for the short term, given us a really, really good side entrance to the house. And here's a look at the front door, all finished and looking great. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts, and remember to like, share and subscribe for more videos and to stay tuned to the channel. So remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.